All right, we're talking about the Nicki discourse. This is a recent tweet from the goddess MC, a few days old at this point, Nicki Minaj, giving us a bit of a personal anecdote, which, it has been said by a Trinidadian health official that there has been no such report of, this case and this situation. But, let's presume it is true that the series of events described here did occur. My cousin in Trinidad won't get the vaccine because his friend, he got it. And let's not say it's a direct result here, but maybe he got it and then afterwards, maybe something else occurred. There was some other kind of, extraneous factor. There was some other occurrence that made him impotent. His testicles became swollen. His friend was weeks away from getting married. Now the girl called off the wedding. So just pray on it and make sure you're comfortable with your decision. Not bullied to take the vaccine. So this is what Nicki Minaj tweeted. And look, as an internal thought, I don't really have too much of an issue of what is being said here. Because again, as far as like series of events, this may have in fact happened. He may have, gotten the vaccine and then afterwards, a lot of people are pointing out that the symptoms described here may be that of a sexually transmitted disease. So, I mean, that may be, the case. This series of events could have, possibly occurred. And as an internal thought by somebody who, another thing I don't hold against Nicki is that, look, even personally, I've had to do a lot of self-educating as far as like pandemics, virology, viral spread, how vaccines work, how the mRNA vaccines vary, the synthetic vaccines vary from just regular old fucking vaccines that we've had for generations. I've had to do a lot of searching and understanding on those topics before I myself felt comfortable with getting the vaccine. And I'm fortunate that I was able to, have at least like kind of a baseline of scientific knowledge, having, gone to school and gotten decent grades and, knowing where to look some of these things up to properly understand them and knowing how to properly like filter through, sort of like conspiracy theory nonsense. Another thing that I've been familiar with for years because, I and my wife are kind of passionate about conspiracy theorists. The minds of conspiracy theorists are always very interesting and very hilarious, and the things that they cook up are usually pretty funny. I've had a lot of experience with, looking into conspiracy theorists and seeing how conspiracies spread. So once I saw conspiracies spreading in regards to the vaccine, I sort of knew what to look out for. And on top of it, being a vegan for as long as I have, I've very much been intimate with the wing of the vegan brigade, which is also incredibly anti-vax. And, this is like for years, dating back to before I even had a YouTube channel that anybody cared about, like, reading vegan anti-vax nonsense and, seeing horror stories on the internet or in the news because vegans aren't taking proper medical care of their children because they believe in the natural immune system and so on and so forth. And, obviously things like immune system are important and significant, but like, when it comes to something like, let's say, Ebola, you wouldn't want to risk catching Ebola over, I don't know, inoculating against it. You know what I mean? You could just, you'd catch Ebola and just fucking die. So, there's some things that you shouldn't catch. There's some things there's some diseases, there's some virus that, there's some viruses you can't just catch and then get better from and then feel great and, like, oh yeah, I'm ready to fight any disease now. Some diseases and viruses don't work that way. They don't work that way. I've had a lot of experience just from watching this stuff due to personal interest, with, a lot of anti-vax dialogue, a lot of conspiracy theorist dialogue. So, I feel fortunate that I was able to come to a decision that felt great for me and my family. And, we got the vaccine, and it's really encouraging to, see the numbers that have come out in terms of like, there have been some breakthroughs, but with those breakthroughs, we've been able to calculate how likely over the past couple of months, how likely it is to get a breakthrough after getting the vaccine versus not getting the vaccine. And, we're starting to see that the chances of getting a breakthrough after getting vaxxed is in like the tens of thousands. Whereas when you're not vaccinated, you're not there. The numbers are not in your favor in that instance. So I don't really hold it against Nicki, because I think the government's doing a piss poor job of not only educating people on these topics, but also, to the degree that there is like good information coming out of the CDC, there's really been like no game plan and no strategy to diffuse all the lies and all the disinformation around the vaccines, around masks, around just the virus in general. Like, to the degree that it's happening, I've seen some accounts get banned off of social media for spreading anti-vax nonsense. But the thing is, like, there's still a lot of accounts out there that do it. And right now, all the social media platforms where this stuff is spreading, they're self-regulating, which like is not working out, because ultimately, like, they're going to only do it to the point where it doesn't affect their bottom line, whereas like maybe if a government organization were handling it and we're only doing it purely from the standpoint of public health, then maybe we would see, more stringent guidelines or sort of more of a clear idea as to how we should go about it. And that's not to say that the government has handled this whole thing perfectly from day one. Clearly, like, from the get-go, there were questions about like PPE and whether or not we should wear masks and so on and so forth. I get that and I understand that. With any sort of organization of anything in response to a new, wholly new pandemic and virus, there's going to be human error. But for over a year now, we've gathered the numbers, we've gathered the facts, we've seen the deaths, we've seen what is effective and what isn't. And, we're seeing the split now between red states and blue states. I mean, we don't need to make it political lines, but like states that are more vaccinated than others, and which states are seeing incredible growth numbers and death numbers and which ones aren't. My own home state of Connecticut, where we're seeing significant vaccination rates, our hospitalization rates, our death rates are significantly lower than that of Florida, where Ron DeSantis is currently just like, letting Florida fucking... if Florida is America's dick, he is just like letting that shit shrivel up right now. So I don't know what else to say. It's not looking good down in Florida. But with that being said, I don't entirely hold it against Nicki that she doesn't know everything that she feels like she needs to know to go out and get the vaccine and feel safe and feel assured about all of it. But, still with that being said, that is an internal thought. Because right now we are talking about a new age of social media. Nicki Minaj, I believe, is a millennial like myself, and most likely remembers a time when you're talking about like Twitter 2009, when everything on Twitter was super localized, very small scale, super chill. Most of the time, anything and everything that you said went out right to your fans, and it was like 110% just your fans like responding and loving you and so on and so forth. But now it's a newer, braver, darker, more horrific world on places like Twitter and everywhere in social media, where like the audience that you can reach on Twitter, even with Twitter having one of the smallest user bases on all major social media platforms, the places and the people you can reach through just a single tweet is immense, is not immeasurable, but, larger than that of some major TV networks. And when you are tweeting and posting anything, especially when you have follower counts in the millions, you have to kind of take that into account. You really do have to take that into account, especially around topics that have, seemingly been forced into the culture war by the right. Because for the majority of my life, the vast majority of the 35 years I've been on this planet, outside of, some of those crazies who I was talking about earlier in the vegan community and beyond, vaccines were not a controversial topic. And you know what, like generally speaking, they're still kind of not. It's just this vaccine. It's just this vaccine. Like if you try to get some of these people to, get their kids to take a measles vaccine or a flu vaccine or something like that, they'd maybe be more down with that idea. But this vaccine, it's a no. It's a no. So again, for the most of my life, this has not been a right-left issue. It was just routine medical care, like, going to get a physical or, getting your teeth cleaned or something like that. It's just a fucking medical procedure that everybody gets done. So now it's a controversial topic, and any sort of, comment on it that isn't clearly in one direction or the other is going to be subject to a ton of very strong reactions from right-wing pundits, from, news commentators, and, everything in between, from various like social media grifters who make their entire living off of just like, being reply guys to, tweets like these when celebrities might say something about the vaccine, be it positive or a negative thing. Which is why there's been like, a string of Candace Owens tweets in response to this, because, not only has someone like Candace been commenting on this, but the whole right-wing anti-vax community has been, sort of like backing up Nicki Minaj, and there's been like a freaking Tucker Carlson segment about all of it, which unfortunately Nicki, in her defensiveness on all of this, she's kind of embraced some of it and has been like, she retweeted the Tucker Carlson segment and has been like, pretty much like, yeah, it's great that I'm getting this support here simultaneously. She's kind of like, going at Joyanne Reid and taking her by the throat, because Joyanne Reid had a, a pretty strong and pretty negative segment on MSNBC about, this tweet and this whole thing. And seeing some of the responses that Nicki had about all this after the fact, it seemed like she wasn't fully aware of like how much this was spreading and the dialogue that she was unknowingly entering in on. Like a lot of people were saying, this isn't it, you're going to get canceled. And she was like, oh, I just want people to be safe and I'm not afraid of the internet and this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, no, it's kind of a bigger issue than that, because we are talking about a deadly pandemic, which has been heavily politicized. And now you have basically every political leech on the internet and in the news world jumping on top of this to bolster their numbers, because it's the new thing to talk about. It's the new thing to discuss, which obviously I'm discussing it as well. Duh. So, look, I guess I'm sort of coming out and saying here, like, is it okay not to know everything about science and the virus and vaccines? Like, yes, I don't expect that as a baseline from every American, especially with our shitty ass fucking education system. But, especially if you come from the place of privilege and success that Nicki Minaj does, you have the means of doing that. You can have discussions with medical professionals that you trust, that, don't just talk to anybody because they say they're a doctor. Look into their credentials, get a second opinion, talk to multiple people if you have to. But like putting these thoughts out on social media may not end well, and reacting to this issue and I guess sort of getting emotional about this issue. I saw somebody who I had been acquaintances with on YouTube get their Twitter account removed. He was saying some dumbass shit, but I kind of sort of got where he was coming from a little bit, because he was mostly crying about like, well, me and my family aren't vaccinated, and we're not, we don't feel great about it. And everybody who's vaccinated and sees me talking about it, they're telling me that they wish I die and da 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 da. It's like, do you think that we want that for you? And he was like, getting really upset and really emotional about it. And it was just like, at least in my own head, I was like, dude, this is not it. Like, this is not the place to start crying out to God about like, why is everyone so mean to me about not getting the vaccine? Like, please just look into it. Get the vaccine, look at the numbers. It's not killing people in like the hundreds of thousands or whatever bullshit that you've read. And like, don't have this, crying out loud moment here. And, now his account's fucking gone. Maybe it'll come back at some point. I don't know. But it's not a great look, and it's not going to end well. Because you're literally going against the grain of scientific numbers, common sense, and we're kind of entering into a really weird gray area socially here, which is the reason I'm kind of talking about this tweet in the first place, where we are now kind of wrestling. It's been fun up until this point. It's been real fucking fun up until this point. Giving like anybody who can gather an audience on the internet a megaphone. It's been real fucking fun up until this point doing that shit. It's been great. It's been amazing. I have been front row seat with a bag of popcorn, eating up every moment of it. But now we're at a point where we all need to be on the same page because we're in the middle of a medical crisis that requires everybody to work together. And it doesn't help when you have somebody with a following of tens of millions just being like, hey, you know what? I heard my cousin's friend's balls got real fucking big because they got the vaccine and they can't have babies no more. So I'm not going to get married. Isn't that crazy? So, it's not great. It's not great. And I feel like we're now starting to realize, we've opened up Pandora's box a little bit. That was already kind of exposed to be true when Trump came into office and when Trump gained his following, because then we were sort of seeing the political repercussions of like, yeah, let's give every moron who wants to tell every other moron exactly what they want to hear and see what pans out. Oh, we have like the most fascist government that we've had in years. Great, amazing, fantastic, great outcome. Thank you, internet. And now we're kind of dealing with the next episode of that problem, but even worse, because the repercussions here aren't just social and political. It's like literally, a medical life and death situation that has equal opportunity to impact all of us in terms of like, if you catch the virus, it's going to have the effect it's going to have. It's just something I feel like I have to talk about here because we're talking about, one of the biggest rappers in the world who is now just at the center, at least for this moment, of this sort of scenario and this realization. And I don't know. It's not great, and it's not a great feeling. I wish Nicki Minaj all the luck in the world in her research to figure out whether or not she wants to get the vaccine. Maybe she's worried about her balls getting swollen. Maybe Nicki doesn't want her balls getting too big. I hope that she comes out with a proper medical decision at the end of at the end of all of this. If you do have a platform, I guess keep in mind these are not questions and feelings that maybe you should like field to your audience, because chances are, like, as much as we love the Barbs and as great and as diehard as the Barbs are, they're not known for their medical knowledge. Maybe there's some Barbs out there who are doctors and nurses, and it's probably the case. It's probably the case. But like the Barbs as a block, as a collective block on social media, it's not I wouldn't, look, you guys, I love you guys, but I would not go to you over social media for for medical advice or really medical anything. I I just told you guys earlier I'm having a thing soon But I'm not even going to go into that with you because not only is it none of your business, but you most likely would have no knowledge or understanding of what it is I'm about to do and deal with. So, let's just keep a separator there. Let's keep a barrier there because it wouldn't help anything. It wouldn't help anything to kind of breach that barrier with you. I can only say from my personal experience, I've gotten the vaccine and my balls didn't get bigger. Unfortunately, like down there, pretty much everything stayed the same size. I was kind of fingers crossed. I was like, I heard there was a rumor my dick might grow twice as long, but didn't pan out. Didn't pan out, unfortunately. But it is what it is. Maybe the next vaccine, maybe the next vaccine with the next pandemic, maybe that one will have a big dick side effect. Maybe, possibly. But yeah, that's it. That's kind of my thoughts on the Nicki Minaj discourse currently and the political shit fest it has completely stirred up. 92,000 quote tweets. It's a lot of quote tweets. It's a lot of quote tweets. And I'm really surprised Hassan ratioed Nicki. That was kind of incredible that he pulled off that. That was no small feat. I don't know if that's still the case with one of the response tweets that he did, but that's still a big boss social media move. Ratioing Nicki Minaj. It's kind of something that you should carry as far as a claim to fame to your grave, as far as I'm concerned. All right, I think we can probably leave it there. Thank you very much for watching this New Music Friday stream clip over on TND Streams. To see future New Music Fridays, hit up our Twitch page at twitch.tv/theneedledrop. To see some past ones, hit up our Patreon page, linked near me or down below in the description. Also get some bonus monthly content in the process too over there. And yeah, see you guys in the next clip. Forever.